So I'm Jessica Jacerta. I serve as the Director of Crisis Services with the National Runaway Safe Line. We're a nonprofit organization that's committed to ensuring young people are safe and off the streets. I specifically support our Crisis Services Center. We serve as the federally supported National Communications Center, providing crisis response and intervention and support to young people and their families 24/7, 365. Ensuring that young people and again their networks are connected to safe supportive adults as they're navigating some pretty tough situations.
What kind of, I mean, it seems like you all do so much. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're with providing resources to families. Let's talk about those. So, like, if someone runs
Yeah,
away from home, what can you offer to families, to maybe the
absolutely.
youth who do run away?
Absolutely. So as the federally supported national communications system, we operate a 24/7, 365 confidential and free hotline and texting services through 1-800-RUNAWAY. By dialing 1-800-RUNAWAY, you'd be connected with a trained crisis responder who can help you navigate and just kind of talk through the situation that you're going through. Additionally, we offer some additional digital services through 1-800-RUNAWAY.org, where young people and again concerned adults, family members can connect with a trained crisis worker through live chat, through email, or through our forum postings there. I continue to say a trained crisis worker because I really want to ensure that folks know that when you reach out, you're connecting with real people. And so often we hear from young people that that's the most critical part and why they're reaching out is they really want to talk with somebody um, who can listen, right? Who can be there with them through some really challenging situations.
Gosh, and they can be going through, I mean, pretty tough times. When we talk about runaway youth, for example, in our program here with Missing in Kansas, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why a kid may not be in their home, but there's a lot of things that they can face. There's a lot of risks. How do you all manage everything with navigating somebody going through that and making sure that everyone is safe?
Absolutely. You know, I think the first step is just we really honor and appreciate and recognize the challenge it is in reaching out for help. And so, really, again, honoring that moment when a young person is saying, wow, I have a lot going on and I just really need to talk through what's happening. Oftentimes, we're talking with young people who don't feel like they have anybody else in their life to turn to, or they're in such a crisis that it's hard for them to start to think about or process other people in their life that they can talk with. So, really, just honoring and acknowledging the bravery it takes to reach out for assistance and supports. Young people are reaching out for so many different reasons, and some of those include that maybe they're experiencing abuse or neglect at home. They may be experiencing bullying at school. They may be navigating really tough family dynamics, or they may be working through just and navigating really tough mental health challenges with limited supports. So, really ensuring that we have passionate, compassionate, and empathetic crisis workers available to connect with them is just so critical and so important. Everybody wants to feel seen and heard, and young people especially deserve that.
One thing that I feel is really tough on our end is when we talk about cases of runaway youth. I don't even like to use the term runaway. Often I don't. Sometimes law enforcement agencies are insistent on it and maybe something they post online. But for me, I might put the information out there if it's pertinent, but I feel like a lot of people have very strong opinions on runaways and the situation that they're in. Let's, if you don't mind talking about that, like, I mean, there are certainly a lot of things that they could be at risk of and such, but I mean, like, the term runaway and the vulnerability of them, I think, is so important because they can be in a really unsafe position.
Thinking about the young people who are reaching out, nearly 50% of the young people who reach out are actually still at home at the time of reaching out to us. So I think about the critical role that the National Runaway Safe Line can play in helping to prevent runaway episodes. And certainly the vulnerability that young people have both upon leaving home, but also some of the challenges that they're facing at home are truly just dire in many situations. And again, ensuring that young people have safe, supportive adults to reach out to talk through their options. And most importantly, something that I think about the work that we do here at the National Runaway Safe Line is we aim to support and connect young people and connecting with local organizations as well, making sure that if if their situation is such that leaving home and finding a safe place to be, even temporarily in that moment, we want to work with them to help identify what are some of those safe options. And again, that could be family, friends, people in their life, but it also could be other local organizations that are trained and provide services such as emergency shelter, crisis intervention on that local level too.
Yeah, and I think that's good to know. Like there are a lot of different resources for families, but I do feel like for some of the cases that we share here in Kansas, and I'm sure it's a thing across the country too, for a family, they have a kid who they might be running from home or they might be in a stressful situation, kids just trying to find an outlet. For
Absolutely.
families though, what options do they have? Obviously you all are a great resource, but I mean, we want to encourage them
Yeah.
certainly, but what can they explore if they're also needing some help?
Absolutely. So much about the work that we do is really encouraging young people and families in having open and honest conversations, communication at home. That's such a core part to prevent really runaway episodes and episodes that we're talking about here, and that improving those lines of communications can really help families work through and resolve conflict, address any issues that they're having, and really, again, with the focus of preventing some of those runaway episodes. We know that young people all need and deserve to feel safe. They want to be seen and heard. They want to feel valued, and they want to have a sense of belonging. And we know that there are so many reasons that young people leave home. So sorry, was that? Yeah, you were going to say
Well,
something. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, and one thing that I'm thinking of,
Yeah,
certainly, I'm curious, and I don't know if it's something that you all even measure because it's
yeah,
hard for us on our end. I'm sure it is nationally too. But when it comes to runaways, youth, I'm curious with things like the pandemic and stuff. Like, have you all
absolutely.
seen anything? Is there any sort of trend or anything that you all are seeing,
Yeah,
good or bad, with what's out there, with what kids are doing or resources available? I mean, I don't know. I look at things like, for example, nonprofits here in our community, and everybody's kind of operating differently a bit. I think everyone's a little stressed, maybe financially and stuff. And I don't know if that's reduced resources or anything. And it might be too early to tell us, sort of thing. But I'm
absolutely.
curious if there's anything that you guys have seen with your organization.
Absolutely. Just like all youth facing organizations, we've certainly seen a tremendous impact on young people as a result of the pandemic. In our crisis center, we certainly saw incredible resilience from young people, but we also saw young people who are struggling with new challenges. We did see an increase in younger youth reaching out throughout the pandemic, some as young as 10 years old. They're contacting us for assistance for many of the same issues that we already hear about from young people, issues with family dynamics, emotional abuse at home, mental health needs, and things like that. But what we found and what we continue to find is that the young people's needs are much more complex and resources are far more limited. We see challenges with young people getting connected with supports as a result of just overwhelmed systems that are unable to fully meet their needs. We also know that a part of I guess what we saw through the pandemic too were just outreach and outreach from service providers, so caring adults who are working alongside young people to get them the support that they need. And I think that that was also a reflection of just how we're all of us in this youth serving field, we're really just have been working really hard really to meet the needs of young people. And since the start of the pandemic, we've continued to hear from younger youth, and that's definitely a trend that we'll continue to monitor and watch. But I think that we're really entering into kind of the new normal, this new reality for seeing what young people are facing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they're getting the courage to call and
Absolutely.
everything, because I hate, and that was one thing that I was really worried about during the pandemic is, like, kids at home more, they're not getting the accountability is not there. Like, we don't have teachers and social workers and all these people looking after our kids so closely, or at least I would hope so closely. Now that we're getting kids more engaged back in the classroom and things hopefully are returning back to that normal, or that I guess just that routine, it's
Absolutely.
improving. But it's still, I mean, that lack of resources and stuff. I mean, I worry about our kids so much. I know you all do too. It's just
Absolutely.
it's stressful, and I think it's stressful for families, everybody all around. So how do you go though and then tackle that? Like, what do we do when we have an increased need and, possibly reduce resources. I mean, how do you all stay on top of all that?
Yeah. I mean, part of our role is also to ensure that we're elevating and sharing that too, right? Seeing that trend and sharing that trend with providers and with our networks, I think is really critical and important. Again, thinking about how nearly 50% of the young people who are reaching out are actually, again, still at home at the time that they're reaching out. We play and are able to elevate some opportunities to prevent episodes of young people running away or experiencing homelessness as well. But in addition, just ensuring that we are training our staff and supporting our staff and responding to and supporting younger youth is also just really critical.
I'm curious. Okay, so like if a teen calls you guys and says, "Okay, I ran away from home. I need him some help." You all try to connect them with resources and stuff. But let's say they ran away from home and everything. Like, what are the next steps? Do you guys? I mean, do you all try to put them like back in their placement or back at home or whatever? Like, I'm curious, like, I don't want kids to be afraid to give you a call, like thinking they're like, oh, they're just going to drag me back home and put me in this awful situation or something. I'm just curious, like, how everything works on your end.
Absolutely. We really aim to meet the need of the young person who's reaching out, right? For some young people, that may include connecting with a local resource. It may include returning home. We have an incredible partnership with Greyhound that allows us to provide reunification for young people to return to families or an alternative living arrangement when that may not be an option. So really allowing a young person to guide and direct what their needs are. And really the core of our work is about listening and ensuring that we are hearing what a young person is needing and following their lead on how we can best support them by ensuring that we're also leveraging what we know about resources and supports that are available. We really want young people to reach out, and it is, like you said, so brave of them to reach out and just share a really difficult their really difficult situation with us, and we want to make sure that we're helping them in the way that's most useful for them.
I think it's just, I was very curious. I mean, like when we put this out there and we share everything with y'all, and I mention it on the news every now and then, I'm like, oh, you can contact them and they'll, connect you with Greyhound and all these things. But I'm just like, oh, I wonder if kids are ever hesitant on making those calls. And I don't want them to be hesitant. Like I want them to get whatever it is they need. I want, mom and dad are here for you, our community's here for you, whoever is here for you. We want to prop them up and get them in a safe place. So yeah.
Well, and all of our services are free and confidential, right? What you share with us is confidential, and we want to ensure that young people feel safe in doing that.
One topic, obviously, that we want to make sure we hit home too is talking about runaway prevention month. Is that the right National Runaway?
Absolutely,
Prevention Month?
National Runaway Prevention Month. Yep.
Yeah, talking about National Runaway Prevention Month. Obviously, awareness is important. Let's talk about. Is there a main message that you all want to get out to the community, to the public?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking about National Runaway Prevention Month, Annette. We spearhead that as part of our work as the National Communication System. So every November, we work alongside and partner with hundreds of individuals and organizations who raise awareness in their local communities of issues that young people who have run away or those who are experiencing homelessness are facing. And so these partner organizations and then youth ambassadors plan activities in their local community. This could include things like resource fairs and sleep outs. Many dress head to toe and wear Green Day. And in many communities, they also will illuminate or light up different monuments or buildings in their local community. And again, the overarching goal is to really elevate and ensure that the community is aware of issues that are facing young people who have run away or experiencing homelessness.
Is there any message that you want to make sure people do get or understand when we talk about this prevention month?
Yeah, I think ensuring that folks know that they can learn more about that campaign on our website at 1-800-runaway.org. But again, it takes all of us, right, to ensure that young people are safe and supported. And so finding ways for your local community to be involved in this effort is just so important, right? We're all the village supporting young people. And so we can all do better when we're working together to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, just for me, like I said, like there's just so much stigma behind when we talk runaways. People are just like, oh, they're such a bratty kid. They don't want to listen to their parents or whatever. Or in contrast, someone will be like, maybe their home life is really horrible and they're just running away from abuse. And they could be for sure. But I feel like kids are just like us. We're all complex beings. Like I don't think there's a simple like black and white situation.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that. And I want people though to know that, but I also want people to know that there are resources here in our community, and hopefully we can connect them with the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree, Annette. That's important to us too.
We'll see. I try my hardest, and it's just one of those things that I'm just like, gosh, I just want people to know like there's a lot of good out there in the community that can help, but including you all. It's just, yeah, I hate that stigma and that just that negative conversation. And I mean, I'm glad people are like wanting to protect the kid, or thinking about whatever, and they're like thinking of worst case scenario. And I'm like, it could be a worst case scenario, but I'm like, it could be something where maybe that teen is really stressed out. Or maybe, we have a lot of recently I've noticed, and maybe it's just because of awareness more than anything. It seems like LGBTQ youth, like, I feel like there's just something going around where we're more aware of it. But I'm just made more aware because I'm trying to word things more sensitively around those youth, maybe a transgender youth or something, and making sure we address them in the proper way, but recognize whatever, and just be like, this kid's at risk, and I don't know, it's complicated on my end, but I just trying to be sensitive to everything. So
I think, I mean, that's so critical. I mean, when we think about like LGBTQ youth, they're disproportionately represented within this population. And so really ensuring that providers, right, everyone's supported, and ensuring that we're meeting some of the unique needs of young people who identify as LGBTQ plus, right? It's again, the need to feel seen, heard, supported, accepted, loved, valued. That is all so critical for young people to, again, feel safe, right? And to feel like they're important and valued in our world.
How do you feel about it all, knowing that you're propping those kids up with your organization?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this work for 12 years and have really I have felt so honored to walk alongside so many young people from their journey from instability to stability, and really knowing that so much of that was young people who were just, again, they just wanted to feel seen and heard and valued. And what an honor it's been to be in a position to really kind of be with somebody during some of their most challenging moments. And I think it's just so important for all of us to keep in mind that that's all of us doing this work, that is an honor and a privilege, and we should never take that for granted.
You're doing awesome work, so I love it. And we want to help people connect, so that's so great. I'm just so glad we could get a chance to talk. And is there anything, Jess, that you think is important that maybe I didn't address, or that you just want to make sure that people are aware of?
Yeah, I did want to highlight a couple of our National Runway partners who are in Kansas, because I think it's always good to know and to hear. If that's okay, yes. I can give a little shout out. We're excited about a few additional National Runaway Prevention Month partners who are joining us from Kansas this year: Wichita Children's Home, Bloomhouse Youth Services, SOS Inc., and the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services in Topeka are part of that effort. So again, just want to elevate and highlight some of the great work happening in Kansas to support young people in crisis.
We want them to be, feeling good. We want everybody to feel safe and secure. And so anything to help highlight that, I think, is awesome. So
absolutely
awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh gosh, it's so great. And if I need anything, I'll make sure to connect with you all. And I have there's one story, and I'm working on it. I've been working on it throughout this past year. I mean, we have some cases of runaways where, and like I said, I try not to use the word runaway unless we really need to, but there's this one case where there's these girls who are and this is one topic that I definitely need to hit up more of. It's these girls who are within our foster care system, a lot of them, and I feel like this is a trend nationwide, but they're being housed within like a juvenile detention center. And so these girls, they ran away or they ran off from that facility. And I'm like, well, I'm like, well, who would blame them? They're in this facility where I wouldn't want to live there either. They didn't do anything wrong. But anyway, so they ran. Yeah, they ran, and a couple of the girls were recovered. But one of the girls, and this is well over like almost a year and a half now, is
Yeah.
still missing. And so I worry about her. I think about her a lot. And I've been in talks with her family and investigators and all that. But she ran away, and or at least that's what they say. And I don't know. I worry. So stuff like that is, and if
Yeah.
I have specifics or something, I'll reach out to you, or maybe that's something that I can build on later. But that's one thing
Absolutely.
that I'm working on. But
Yeah.
I hate the term runaway because sometimes, well, one, like I said, the stigma behind it, but also we don't really know in some cases, are they in a trafficking situation or something? Like that's my fear for this girl, because it's just
Yeah.
been so long, and because of the people that she's been associated with. So
Yeah.
I just don't like using that term. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think in general, young people don't necessarily identify with the term runaway, right? It's I left
Yeah.
home for a reason. I think it's really important that we're challenging terms and allowing a young person to identify kind of what is happening for their own situation. But like you said, there's that emotional layer of it too, right? Um, we could definitely have an extended conversation around that for sure. And that it's tricky, it's challenging. You're grappling and seeing some really tough situations in the work that you've
Yeah.
been doing. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think too, like, it's deflective. Like I said, our local police, some departments really don't like, or they like using the term runaway just because they don't want to take ownership of. And I'm not saying that they're doing bad things, but they're just like, we want people to know, like, we're not, I guess, disregarding the kid, but if they chose to do this, what am I supposed to do as a police department, that sort of thing. So I'm just like, I don't know, no ownership of the situation, accountability is just like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
interesting conversations to be had later. But anyway, not that would be a part of this, but yeah, that's just sort of like my thought process is I'm like, I just don't like using the term. So.
Well, and I think for us and for you, I'm sure too, what's so important is just, again, how do we get the word out to young people about who to talk with, right? And where they can go. And I think that that's so challenging. I'm really excited about some of the work that we're doing on social media for young people. We have a TikTok, we're on Instagram, but like TikTok's the thing. And so
yeah,
we've had young people who reach out who have found us through social media. And so the more that we can find unique ways to reach out to young people to ensure that they're aware of, again, safe, supportive adults to reach out to when they're in need is so critical.
That's so nice, to be there on those platforms and to be in their corner. So
Absolutely.
very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if I have questions or anything else on top of this, I'll send some your way. But I think this is great. And like I said, I'm gonna
please edit the things. I'm so sorry. I hope you're able to edit it.
Well, I'm kind of an all over the place interviewer anyway, so it's my own fault. But
no, that's okay.
I'll take a clip of this and then I'll put, like I said, like kind of an expanded segment, so then people, because I really want, like, when we put together, I'm actually trying to develop stuff on our website to where when people go and they have a kid who's missing, I mean, I have all the stuff there. It's just not laid out in the way I want it. But I want to be like, if you have a child who ran away from home, click on this and then they can see, this checklist essentially of things maybe they should do or resources they should be aware of. So then, they can be guided.
Absolutely.
Better.
And I would also highlight the prevention part of it too, right? I think so often much of this work can happen and should happen prior to a young person leaving home. So also thinking about like National Runaway Safe Line as a tool for young people or adults, right, who are concerned and just want to talk more about like ways to prevent runaway episodes, including just even for a young person having a safe space to talk about things that are going on for themselves too.